Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. This is your host, Linda Joy, and I'm honored that you've joined me for today's inspiring show. Do you love and accept the woman you see in the mirror? Or, like so many women, do you struggle with shame, judgment, and body image issues? In today's Inspired Conversation, Dr. Mary Pritchard joins me to talk about body love, self-love, and her personal journey that began with her rude awakening and led her to the sacred work she's now doing in the world. So allow me to introduce my dear friend, Mary Pritchard, psychologist, body love expert, and international best-selling author, who also just happens to be one of my dearest friends and soul sisters. Mary is the expert body love columnist for Aspire magazine, an esteemed blogger at Psychology Today and the Huffington Post, and the host of the Reclaiming Body Love podcast. Mary is passionately dedicated to empowering today's women in healing their relationship with food, their bodies, and themselves, and supporting them in reconnecting with their inner goddess, stepping through their perceived fears, and embracing the truth of who they are. Mary has been invited to share her inspiring wisdom and powerful insights as an author, and through Inspired Living Publishing is a co-author in multiple bestsellers, including the Inspiration for a Woman's Soul trilogy. The first, Choosing Happiness, international bestseller, followed by Cultivating Joy, another bestseller, and coming in August, the final book in the Sacred Trilogy, Opening to Gratitude and Grace. Mary's also a co-author of multiple best-selling Kindle books by Inspired Living Publishing, and as you are about to discover, women are drawn to Mary's authentic and vulnerable style of serving and connecting. Welcome, beautiful.
Thank you so much, Linda. I'm just thrilled to be here.
I always love our time together. We have had so many sacred conversations, personally and business, over our journey together. So to be sharing this space with you is really special to me.
I know. I'm just so excited, and we always have so much fun. Yay!
We do, and you and I know from personal conversations that we're not alone in this whole issue of body love, self-love, honoring our sacred body vessels. And we've both joked because a friend of ours, a mutual friend, Lisa Marie Rosati, once said to you, our mess is our message. And you started laughing and you said, oh boy, is my mess my message. And I remember that day so clearly. So for our listeners who are just getting to know you, take us back to what you now call your rude awakening and give them some context of why you are so passionate about the work you do in the world.
Oh, I would love to. And for me, my mess has been my message several times. So I have one rude awakening that Linda's referring to, but I really have several rude awakenings and cosmic 2x4s and ahas over the past several decades. So what she's referring to is it was following a conversation that she and I had when we first started working together a few years ago. And I had been working on a book about the psychology of eating because that is my academic specialty. My research area with my PhD in psychology is the past 20 years has been the psychology of eating and body image dissatisfaction and eating disorders and really how we end up coming to relate to ourselves and food and our bodies. And I've been working on this book, and I had writer's block, and I reached out to Linda, and I said, Linda, I don't know what to do because I have writer's block. And at that point, I think it had been 3 months, Linda, that I had writer's block, and I was getting so frustrated. and I never, ever have writer's block. I've been writing since I was a child, and Linda said, why don't you talk to my book coach, Lisa Tenner, and see if she can help you with your writer's block. And I was like, I'll do anything. I'm so desperate at this point. I had an agent breathing down my neck, and like, I've got to get this stupid book done. And and so I talked to it was Linda and Lisa, and I were on the phone together one night, and Lisa said, do you mind if I lead you through a guided meditation to talk to your writing muse? And I now call that writing muse my inner goddess, because that conversation that night would change everything for me. And I said, of course, I'm a big meditator, and I hadn't had time to meditate yet that day. And so as Linda and Lisa were leading me through this guided meditation to meet my writing muse, I went through the journey, and my writing muse said to me, well, you have writer's block because you're writing the wrong book for the wrong people. And immediately I started arguing with my writing muse. I'm arguing with myself, because, like, what do you mean? This book is based on, then it was about 15 years. Now it's about 20 years of my research. I'm like, how can I be writing the wrong book for the wrong people? This is my life. This doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, and now we can laugh about it, because, at the time I just thanked Linda and Lisa, and I went along my merry way. And I'm like, it didn't work. This meditation didn't work. and Lisa, bless her heart, sent me the recording of our call together. And she's like, just in case you need it. So it was a week later, and I still couldn't write a single word. And so I was like, I'm going to listen to that meditation again. Maybe this time it'll work. And so I listened to it again, and I got the same message. And so this time I got the message, I want you to go sit down at your computer. And I'm like, well, check, I can do that. Yay, I'm good at that. So I sat down at my computer, and within the span of 15 minutes came this very, very detailed outline about the book I was supposed to be writing, which was really about women reawakening to their soul's purpose and to the truth of who they are. Because I realized in that moment, my big aha was that I was living somebody else's life. I was living a lie. From the outside looking in, I had it all. I had a successful career. I had the husband. I had the dogs. I had the house. And I was miserable because I wasn't being true to me. And so my aha moment really came through this guided meditation, where with Linda and Lisa's help, I was really able to pull away the masks that I had been wearing and the facade that I had been wearing of professor and academic and writer and researcher, and to see the core of me, to see Mary, the woman that I am, and to realize that I had been blindly following this path for 2 decades. And it was my path, but it wasn't the journey I was supposed to be on.
How many women do we know, Mary, who's been in those same shoes? And I want to say, from the outside looking in, like you said, you had the ideal life. And I also want to say what I noticed in our work together, and I know we're going to cover in this call because it's such an important message, is you, like me in the past, were suffering from superwoman syndrome. Like you said, you were a perfectionist, and you still fight with those tendencies. Yep. But you were top in line in academia, top of your field. You pushed, you strived, you did everything until you beat your body into the ground. And we're going to talk about that some more. So when you had that awakening, when you had that moment, which, I was privy to because I was in your life at that moment, but for our listeners, what did it feel like when you realized that?
It was the most freeing, petrifying moment at the same time. Because on the one hand, it was this deep sigh of relief. I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to keep pretending to be somebody I'm not. And in the moment, that's really what I felt, was this, oh, wow, you mean I don't have to keep this facade up anymore. I can actually walk in my power and speak my truth and do what I want to do. But the reality of it, and Linda knows this very well because she and I have been friends for so long, the reality of it was the 6 months following that aha moment, my life turned upside down, completely upside down. Everybody thought I was crazy to give up a successful career and pursue my passion that wasn't writing a book about the psychology of eating. And, I got a divorce and I moved and I broke my heel and through that process, I lost a lot of friends, gained a lot of wonderful, wonderful women like Linda. But through that process, my life literally turned upside down. My mess was, it was more than a mess. It was like a cosmic 2x4. It exploded. And it was a disaster. I was like a walking disaster for about 6 months. And yet, once I made that initial decision and commitment to move forward with this path, I never once doubted that I was doing the right thing. As crazy as it looked on the outside, I knew in my heart that I was finally living my truth.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because as a professor of psychology, you are caught up in, the type A high driving energy that is academia. And but the essence in the truth of who you are and always has been, though you smothered it, is in the feminine, right? Mm-hmm. So I know you and I have talked about this, and for every woman that's on this call and show right now, you'll know if this is you also, because you're going to get warning signs as Mary and myself have over the years. And if you ignore them, as Mary and I both did for many years, if you ignore the soul whispers and the little, flicks on the ear from the universe, you will get hit by the cosmic 2x4. It's just the universal law. And so for Mary, for you, it was a waking up and going, whoa, okay, if this is the essence of who I am, which is in the feminine, and I want to birth and create and serve and love and lead from that space, how do I still exist in the world of academia without losing myself? And that has been your dance since we met a few years ago. And it's been beautiful to watch because, like so many of us, we can't give up our day job until our passion-filled work can, support us fully. So you've balanced both worlds, and I love that you've integrated both of them. You've taken your expertise in 20 years of research and studies and brought it into the work you're doing now. And that is the moment when I said, yes, this is what it's all about. It's about merging the two and creating from that space.
Yeah. And it took me a while to do that. It wasn't like I just had that aha moment. I think it took Linda about 2 years of bugging me for me to...
Wait. Did you say nudging? You really should be saying kicking your ass.
I said bugging.
Okay. This woman has so many gifts that I wanted to say, Mary, but she, like all of us, had to go through her layers of healing work, and all I would do is keep holding up a mirror for her to see her value. And I love that today that's what she does for women, and we're going to be talking about more of that when we come back from our break. So give me a moment. We're going to be right back with some more of this inspiring conversation with Dr. Mary Pritchard of drmarypritchard.com. We'll be back in a moment.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Ladies, your story has the power to transform lives. 4-time best-selling boutique publishing company, Inspired Living Publishing, is dedicated to sharing women's stories of hope, love, and transformation with the intention to inspire and empower their readers to believe in the power of possibility. Share your story in an upcoming print or Kindle project. Visit inspiredlivingpublishing.com today.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is Conscious Living for Your Soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. Joining me today is my special guest, Dr. Mary Pritchard of drmarypritchard.com. And before we went on break, we were talking about Mary's rude awakening and how it led her to the passion and purpose-filled life that she's leading now as a body love expert and supporting women in embracing their inner goddess, healing their body and food issues. So, Mary, I know that it wasn't easy, as you just said, to kind of integrate everything in. But one of the things that I think is one of your greatest messages for the woman you serve now is that you trusted yourself in the intuitive guidance that you are now listening to. And as scared as you was, you kept taking baby steps.
Yeah. I had to. I mean, I knew in that when I had my first aha moment, or I guess my second one, because I ignored the first one. When I had that aha moment, it was like I knew that I had a choice to make. I could stay stuck where I was and be absolutely miserable for the rest of my life, or I could move forward. And I had been stuck and miserable for about 2 decades at that point. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I was good at doing it, but I didn't want to do it anymore. And so it was in that moment I made this choice. Okay, whatever it takes, forward movement needs to happen on a daily basis, as small as the step may be. And it wasn't that I never had, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. I mean, that happens all the time, right?
Yes.
But I needed to make, once I made that decision, I'm doing this. I am going to embrace the core of who I am, and I am going to live the life of this woman that I'm meant to be. I knew it was up to me to make that happen. And I had women like Linda holding my hand the whole time, and Lisa Marie Rosati, who we talked about earlier in the call. But I knew that at the end of the day, it was my decision. It was my life, right? So it was my decision. And I needed to take those steps for myself so that I could start my own healing journey, so that I could then do what I was supposed to be doing in this world.
And it's so true. And I want to talk a little bit because, you're the body love expert for Aspire magazine, but you're also an avid esteemed blogger at Psychology Today and Huffington Post. And you talk a lot. One of the reasons I feel that woman is so drawn and attracted to your message is you bear it all. You tell what your struggles are with food and eating disorders and all that, and how it ties into the work that you do now. So let's talk about that for a few moments, because it goes back to how we started this, that your message. And again, I think it's your vulnerability that makes you such a gifted spiritual teacher and healer.
It is, because, women don't come to me because I have 20 years of research experience. Nobody really cares about that.
Yeah.
They come to me because I've lived this life. And so, about a year after my first aha moment, a very good friend of mine, and Linda and I talked about it before, but a very good friend of mine, out of the blue, said to me one day, "You have an eating disorder." And I was like, no. I study eating disorders. I don't have one. I was so caught up, again, in that facade, in that mask. I thought I'd taken it off by that point, and I had taken some of the masks off, but I still wasn't fully embracing the core of who I was, because I had this dark, dirty secret, and that was I studied eating disorders and body image dissatisfaction because I didn't like the woman in the mirror. In fact, I loathed her. And I hid that behind self-confidence and self-esteem and bravado, because to succeed in our world, in corporate America, which academia is just corporate America with education, hat on it, I had to have the bravado and I had to have the self-confidence and the self-esteem to make it to the point that I had gotten to in my career. But at the end of the day, after I had this aha moment and rude awakening and my life kind of fell apart, I began to confront the fact that I didn't love myself and I didn't have it all together. And in fact, I didn't like the woman in the mirror at all. I was very ashamed of her and very critical of her. And so when this friend of mine said to me, "You have an eating disorder," I fought with him for about a week. And finally, I was like, oh my God, he's right. I have an eating disorder. How did this happen? Right? So then I went to that beat myself up mode, because I was the researcher. I was the one who helped people with eating disorders and body image dissatisfaction. I didn't have a problem myself. And then I had to finally, realize the fact that I did. And Linda and I were talking earlier about how it took her about 2 years of beating me over the head for me to actually finally start to talk about this in my non-academic world and to bring it to what I do as a coach. And I think I know it's because in my core of core, I knew I had a problem, and I felt like such a fraud telling women, this is what you need to do to heal, when I hadn't even admitted to, much less healed my own food issues. And so fast forward 2 years, now I can help people, because not only have I done the research, but I've healed myself. And I needed to take time for me to do that in order to really be able to walk this walk and talk this talk and really fully embrace and integrate those two worlds together. I had a lot of personal healing work. Even after that aha moment, I had a lot of personal healing work I needed to do to be able to get to where I am today.
And you and I have had a personal discussion that your healing work, just like mine, just like Mary's on the call or Nancy on the call, is a continual journey. There is no there.
Yeah.
So,
no.
With eating disorders, any other addiction or any other healing issue that needs to be healed, it's going to continually come up so we can heal layer after layer of what caused it in the first place. And it's your vulnerability as an expert that says, listen, I know this topic so well because not only do I teach it and am an expert in it, I've been living with it personally. And as you said earlier in the show, that's why women are so drawn to you. You removed the false bravado that you used to hide behind and the PhD and all this, and said, hi, this is Mary. I'm a woman who happens to be an eating disorder expert who also happens to be a woman who suffers with an eating disorder. And together, why don't we can come together and let's heal each other's stories. That's your gift, the truth and the authenticity that women who are struggling can really say, she gets it. She gets it.
Absolutely, because I've lived it. And, like Linda said, when we all have bad days, Linda and I both still wake up, some days and your inner critic is running the show and you go back into superwoman mode and it's like, stop. I need to take my own advice. I can't be it all and do it all and keep adding things to my plate that's already overflowing. And, it's a journey, but it's a journey that Linda and I are both willing to take with open hearts and open arms and be really honest and vulnerable about it. Because there's no point in me saying I can help you heal without saying, and I can do that because I've healed myself, because I've been through my own struggles, my own 20 plus years of hell when it came to my relationship with food, my body, and myself.
And that's a powerful message for women, because it gives them hope that when you stop hiding your truth, whatever that truth may be, right? In this case, we're talking about body love and shame issues and eating disorders, but everyone's truth is different. But when you stop hiding your truth and say, this is me, warts and all, that's when true healing can take place. That's when as you discovered, the woman in the community who loves you and wants the best for you kind of comes around you, because look what happened, Mary, as you started stepping out. Amazing women started surrounding you and supporting you and loving you, peers, good friends, and every time they saw you, because I'm one of them, see you sliding backwards. And I don't mean just in regard to an eating disorder. I'm talking about superwoman syndrome or overcommitting and all the things that a lot of women do to themselves. We hold a mirror up and go, Mary, remember the truth of who you are, not the person you used to be, because it's not how you want to exist in the world. I know it's not how I want to exist. I want to live authentically and joyfully as you do. And that has been something beautiful to watch happen for you, from the outside looking in, to say, wow, look at her drawing the community she's meant to heal. You've drawn such a large community to you, and at the same time, you've drawn so many amazing peers to you who are there to support you, because I think like attracts like. And every time you stepped out at the next level, you attracted the next level of relationships in every area of your life. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what we need to grow and evolve.
It is. And the thing with superwoman syndrome, as you and I both know, because Mary and I are both recovering superwomen, is one of the things is we have a tendency to falsely believe, that we can do it all. We don't need help. No, I got this, I got that. Sure, you need me to do this for you? And Mary's laughing because I just kicked her butt 10 days ago about this. So, because it's so easy to go into old habits, and it's really important to have people that love you and want the best for you to hold you accountable. And I'm so blessed to have that in my life, and I'm honored to be one of the women that you have in your life to hold you accountable.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful that you're here. The tribe of women, I think when you're doing a healing journey, you have got to have people that have your back, because you can't do it alone. You absolutely need support, and you need help, whether it's a coach or a group program or good friends. You need somebody who will be willing to hold the mirror and say, you're doing it again. Like, oh, yeah, okay. I need to stop doing that.
Exactly. Now, earlier in the show, Mary, I brought up, and I want to talk about it more after the next break, but I want to touch base on it now, is at the beginning of the call I said you were so caught up in academia when you started this journey. But your truth is that you follow the feminine and the goddess and all that, but you had lost your connection 8-10 hours a day when you were at work, right? It was the truth of who you were at out of work. You just never knew how to blend the two. And what really, I think, sets your work apart is that you bring in the goddess energy in your work as a body love expert. So, yes, you have the research background. Yes, you have the credentials. Yes, you have all that. Plus, you have the personal experience. But then you bring in the goddess work and help women see themselves in their bodies as the goddess and the goddess energy that they truly are. So tell us a little bit about that when we come back from break in a moment. So everyone, we'll be right back with Dr. Mary Pritchard of drmarypritchard.com, and we'll be talking about how to incorporate the goddess energy into your healing work when it comes to body shame, body love, and eating disorders. We'll be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Do you love, accept, and respect the woman you see in the mirror? You are a goddess. But do you treat yourself as one in every area of your life? Are you taking care of you? Or are you last on your to-do list, if you're on it at all? It's time to take off the superwoman cape and awaken your inner goddess. Psychologist and body love expert Mary Pritchard is passionately dedicated to empowering today's women to heal their relationships with food, their body, and themselves, along with reconnecting with their inner goddess, stepping through perceived fears, and embracing the truth of who they are. Visit drmarypritchard.com to learn more about Dr. Mary's Body Love Group program, private coaching, sacred goddess circles, and to schedule a complimentary chat. drmarypritchard.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. Joining me, we're going to continue the conversation with Dr. Mary Pritchard of drmarypritchard.com. So, Mary, right before we left for break, we were talking about how you integrate the goddess and the feminine in with your work, and which is a beautiful balance of the masculine and feminine, of the research-driven, background that you have, your personal experience, as well as the feminine. So let's talk about that, how you merge it in and why you feel it's so important.
To me, it's everything. And it's why I started doing what I'm doing. Because in that original aha moment we were talking about at the beginning of the call, I was told that I was writing the wrong book for the wrong people. But what I didn't mention at that time was I was told in that divine download, I was supposed to write a book about healing your relationship with the goddess within, that divine feminine energy. And that as I wrote that book, I would heal. And as women read that book, they would heal. And at the time, I, was fighting with myself, and I thought, this is preposterous. What do I know about divine feminine energy? What do I know about the goddess? Because I was very much in my masculine in my academic world, and had really, even in my personal life at that point, had really toned down and almost turned off that feminine side of me, because I was working so much. I was working, 10, 12, 14-hour days. I was in my masculine so much that pretty much the only time I wasn't when I was asleep. So it was like, who am I to really talk about the divine feminine and talk about that goddess energy? But I just kept getting that message. This is what you need to do to heal. This is what you need to do to heal. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to dive in and start figuring out, what is this goddess energy and why is it so important to heal? And what I found is that for me, the goddess energy is my intuition. It's that feminine sense of knowing that all women have. Some men have it too, but all women are born with, and yet a lot of times we switch it off as we're going through life because we're surrounded by a very masculine, action-oriented situation where, if you were to say something like, well, my feminine intuition told me, they would laugh at you. And I experienced that. When I first started coming out and talking about the goddess energy, I would go to my day job in academia, and my colleagues thought it was hilarious that I was talking about goddess because they didn't understand what I was doing, and they would make fun of me for it. But I knew in my heart of hearts, because I had connected in with my inner goddess, my intuition, I knew in my heart of hearts that I needed to do that work. I needed to reconnect with my own divine feminine in order to heal. Because the beauty of it is that we are all a blending of both divine masculine and divine feminine energy. And that, yes, you need the masculine energy. That's the doing energy. And when you have too much of it, you turn into superwoman like Linda and I did. But when it's balanced with the divine feminine energy, it allows you to both nurture and nourish yourself, which is something we women don't tend to be very good at, so we can heal and reconnect with that intuition so that you can begin to understand your own body's wisdom and your own intuition as gifts from divine, which is really what they are. And that's the beauty of it, is I can't heal you. You have to heal yourself, but you have to be willing and open to connecting in with that divine feminine energy and really getting the balance of the masculine and feminine, the doing and the being, in order for you to really heal and move forward. And sometimes you need somebody like me who is a coach who can help you do that. But ultimately, your body is your body and your intuition is your intuition. And all I can do is help you access that, because that's what I had to do for myself. I had to re-access that feminine knowing so that I could realize my body was my greatest messenger. And when it hurt, it was trying to tell me something, and I best pay attention or the pain was just going to get worse.
And you want to know one of the gifts that just popped in my head that you that I believe is really one of your greatest gifts is because of your personal journey, you realize that the intuitive body messages that we were created to receive from the divine, right, that tells us when we're on track. They had been shut off for so long with you that you didn't know how to decipher the messages. They were always there, but your messaging system got screwed up, as mine did when I was young. And your gift is, as a coach and as a body love expert, is helping women reconnect that divine messaging system again. Because if we try to do it alone, it can take twice as long because we always keep falling back into the same habit. And so I see your role as this divine connector going, oh, honey, you have just forgotten where the messages come from. But they're there. You're never disconnected from it. Let me help you connect it. And I've witnessed you do it for yourself, but also I know many of your clients. And
yes, absolutely.
And that is, the gift is you empower the woman in your programs and with your services you empower them to make that connection themselves so it's a tool that they have for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
That's such
because
a
once
sacred
you turn
gift.
it on, it's not going to go away. But it does, like any gift, it requires cultivating, right? It requires practice. And sometimes all it takes is for someone like me. I had a client the other day who was having horrible, horrible chest pains. And she'd been to the doctor, but all these heart specialists, they couldn't figure out what's wrong with her. And she booked a session with me, and the first words out of my mouth were, "Why is your heart breaking?" And immediately you could see a shift in her, and she just started sobbing because it never occurred to her that her chest pains were the result of what was going on in her relationship with her husband, which was not good at that time. And it's about that kind of reconnection where sometimes it takes some, like Linda has been for me so many times, it takes somebody else to point out the obvious to you. And then once you begin to heed your own body's messages, then you can begin to decipher them on your own. And that's a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful. And what you did for that client is, I think so many of us, right, again, superwoman syndrome, we go into our head space. I'm going to fix this. What's wrong with my heart? I'm calling the doctors. We're trying to solve it from the head because we've become disconnected from the feminine, which is listening, allowing, hearing what our body says. You held space for her and said, you know, here's what it is. Here's what I believe it is, and it was her truth. But she wasn't at the point to see it for herself and needed someone to hold that mirror, and that's what you do as a body love expert.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. I fully believe that our bodies are our greatest messenger. And I've seen that for myself. I know you personally have seen it, Linda, and I've seen it with so many of my clients. Our bodies, if something feels off, that is, they're screaming. Your body is screaming loud and clear. You just got to understand what it's trying to say to you.
Exactly. And it's learning how to listen, and that is what being in the feminine does. And I remember one of the processes that you personally chose to do for yourself during that healing time a few years ago was, remember when you painted through the chakras? And I was like, I go, what? You're going to do what? And she said, Linda, I'm feeling intuitively led to paint my pain and trauma and connect with it through painting. And how big were those canvases? I can picture them, but what, 12 by 12 maybe?
Oh, 12 by 12. They're not that big. They're like, foot to foot, foot by foot.
So share that process with us, because I thought it was so beautiful that even though it might not make sense of why you were being led to do that, you knew for you it was the next step. And share some of the lessons that you learned through that.
The biggest lesson I got, being in the masculine like I was, you're so disconnected from your feelings that I wasn't allowing myself to feel my feelings. So I was numb. I was emotionally numb. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. And when here I was, I had just turned 40. I had broken my heel for the second time in a year. I had just gotten a divorce, and I just moved across town on a broken heel. and I felt that pain, but I wouldn't even acknowledge the fact that my heart was breaking because my 21-year relationship with my husband was over. And a friend of mine said to me, I just started painting again, and I loved it. And she said, you need to paint your divorce. And I was like, what? And she said, you need to paint your divorce. And so I just got, at that point, I wasn't even into canvases yet. I just got some watercolor paper and some paints, and I just let whatever was going to come up. And it was so black, and it was so dark initially, when I look back at what I painted. But then as that darkness came out of me and I began to, I would be sobbing hysterically while painting, because that's what was like my way of allowing myself to feel all of the grief and all of the pain and the hurt that went with ending a 21-year relationship. And out of that, then I got the message, okay, now that the blackness and the pain is gone, you really need to focus on healing. And that, I don't even remember the exact moment, but I just knew that I needed to heal my chakras, because that was my relationship with myself, because each of our chakras is the seat of one of our senses and part of our knowing. And I knew that I needed to work my way through that in order to heal. And so then I grabbed some canvases and the paints, and I started going through that process. And when I first, Linda laughed at me, because when I first started doing it, I decided I was going to heal one chakra a week, because I was still superwoman enough that I thought that I could fully heal.
It's like, I give you 1 week to heal, chakra. You were on my to-do list this week. And I said, Mary, honey, I don't think that's how it works. And she's like, am I doing it again? I go, yes. But yeah, that was I still remember that conversation.
Funny. So it took more than 7 weeks to paint the chakra series. It took months, but through it I healed, because my painting, and for you it may be dance, it may be singing, but for me, the way to both heal and reconnect with my feminine was to get back in touch with my senses. And painting was a way for me to do that, a way for me to express my emotions in a contained, creative way that still allowed my feelings to be felt. And that's why it was so powerful for me.
No, and it was beautiful to witness, too. It just really brought all your teachings together for me. And when we come back in a moment, I want to talk about something else that you do in your life that I said, whoa, what a great gift to give yourself to help you heal your body image issues and to support the work you're doing in the world, and that's belly dancing. So when we come back in a moment, everyone, with Dr. Mary Pritchard of drmarypritchard.com, we're going to dive a little deeper into other ways that you can heal your body image issues, and we'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you being called to live a bigger life? A life that fills you with passion and purpose? Are you constantly telling yourself that the life you have now should be good enough? Dream Life designer and life coach Karen Spacies, is passionate about empowering women to rediscover, reawaken, and realize their life's desires. Karen knows firsthand the blocks and limiting beliefs that may come up when you follow your heart. She went through them herself when she walked away from a 24-year leadership role to follow her passion, live authentically, and create her dream life and business. Today, Karen successfully guides and supports her clients in designing and creating the life they envision. Stop by KarenSpacies.com to schedule a complimentary discovery session and learn how Karen can support you in creating your dream life. KarenSpacies.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. Joining me today is Dr. Mary Pritchard of drmarypritchard.com, and we've been talking about body love, self-love, belly dancing, painting your way through the chakras to heal your pain and any trauma you may have in your life. So, Mary, let's talk about this sacred gift you've given yourself, because I see every time you do a new event that you're belly dancing now. So how did that come about, and what a gift you have given yourself?
Yeah, it was really kind of the same way that the painting came about. So I knew painting was a way for me to get in touch with my senses and to feel and allow my feelings to flow. And as I was healing my relationship with my emotions, that was wonderful. But as I moved to healing my relationship with my body, I knew I needed to get into my body because I had been so disconnected from my body and had gone through so many surgeries and so much pain and so many chronic illness symptoms. I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way to do this. The painting wasn't the way. The painting was still disconnected from my body. I was using my hands, but I wasn't in my body while I was doing it. And so I thought, okay, one of the things I used to love to do when I was little, back before I knew that there was thin and there was fat and there was pretty and there was, was I loved to dance. And I thought, I don't want the structured rigidity of ballet because that was just too much back down that path of structure and masculine and order. And for some women, ballet is wonderful in adulthood. But for me, I knew it wasn't for me. But I had always been fascinated by belly dancing. And I wanted to do something that was going to get me into my body that I had never done before. So I couldn't have any preconceived notions or judgments or ideas about how it was supposed to work because I'd never done it. I had no clue what I was doing. And so I had watched these women of all shapes and sizes. And that's the other thing I love about belly dance. All shapes, sizes, ages, colors, it doesn't matter. Back when I did ballet, it was very much a cookie cutter body type. They're getting away from that now. But back, when I was a kid, very much, you had to be long and lean. And I wanted to get away from any kind of movement that enforced a body image issue that was lurking under the surface because I was just new to healing at this point. So So I was like, okay, belly dancing, it doesn't matter what shape, size, color, whatever you are, doesn't matter what your body looks like, all women do it. And so I found a local company, and I started taking lessons. And it was such a beautiful way for me to explore getting back into my body with no shame, no judgment, no criticism, because it doesn't matter what you look like. It's about your body's ability to feel a certain move. And so that's how I got into belly dancing. And I just fell in love with it. And now it's my creativity. You know, dancing and coming up with new solos and picking music and costuming and all of that has become my new way of expressing my feelings. I dance them out. And it's such a powerful way to reconnect with your body, which it has been for me. So again, maybe it's not for everybody, but for me, it was just what I needed.
And you know, from the outside looking in, what it was another sign that you were on the healing journey.
Yeah.
Because so many women wouldn't be able to embrace that part of themselves and to be so open and vulnerable in public. And when I see the pictures of you, you radiate joy, you radiate love, you radiate acceptance. And that's what your body is feeling from you in that moment. And that's such a gift to give our bodies when we have, when we spent most of our lives, you know, putting a lot of shame and judgment on it. So it must, even for your body must be going, oh yes, finally she's loving me.
Yeah. For years in the heat of my eating disorder, I was a runner. I was a distance runner. And so I was used to making my body hurt. And that was just part of it. I mean, when you run 24 miles, it's not pain-free, right? So my body was thrilled when I found a low-impact movement that allowed it to move in whichever way it wanted. There are movements, but really allow it to be free and not have the impact of running and not have the structure of like ballet when I was a child, and be able to just have this beautiful art form that is belly dance and express myself that way.
And as I said, you radiate joy in all the pictures that you show. If you had a wish for someone who's listening to the show right now that may be struggling with an eating disorder, and if not an eating disorder, one of the struggles that so many women and young girls have, which is, the body shame, the body judgment, what would your wish be?
My wish would be that every woman or man, doesn't matter, listening to this call, once we're done, go to the mirror, look at yourself eye to eye, and say, I love you. Because you are so deserving of your own love and affection. And yet, so many of us, myself included, for the first 40 years of my life, denied myself my own love and affection. And I want to tell you that mirror exercise, for the first month I did it, I couldn't even look at myself. I would say I love you in a very quiet voice, but I couldn't even look at myself. It took time. But the more I did it, the more I kept going back day after day, telling myself I love you, the more I started to believe it. And the more I started to treat myself as though I was a person worthy of my own love. And that changed everything.
What a beautiful gift. So you would look in the mirror, and as time went on, you would look yourself in the eye, and would you always say the same thing, I love you, Mary? Or would you speak to each body part? How would you do it?
I started with I love you, and then at some point in my healing journey, I wrote a love letter to my body, and that's part of the free gift that I offer people who come to my website and sign up. And it's the most popular request that I get from clients that I work with privately and through group coaching is that love letter, because I made myself. This was in a time when I was still very much new to healing my relationship with my body. But I made myself list something positive that I loved and appreciated about every single part of my body, especially the parts I wasn't crazy about. And so then I started reading that love letter to myself. And I used to do that. I mean, for months, I would read that love letter to my body, to myself, while looking in the mirror every single day. And it was, again, such a powerful vehicle for me to shift. And so if that speaks to you, I encourage you to go beyond the I love you and actually start to be grateful and say what you're grateful to yourself about for and to your body about for.
What a beautiful gift to leave our listeners with, because it's one that there's no excuses, ladies. We all have access to a mirror. It's about reconnecting with that divine part of you and reconnecting to your body. Mary, I want to thank you, as always, for being here, showing up with such vulnerability and authenticity, and for always being of service to other women. I'm so blessed to call you a friend, and I'm happy to support the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been such a blessing and such a pleasure, as always, to spend time with you.
Well, everyone, I want to encourage you right now to visit drmarypritchard.com to learn more about Mary's popular 30 Days to Body Love ecourse and other supportive resources, and to claim the empowering free gift bundle that she offers when you stop by drmarypritchard.com. Thank you for joining me for the Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. Listen in every Tuesday at 2 p.m. for more sacred conversations with visionary women just like Mary, who are here to share their feminine wisdom to support you in living your best life. Until then, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work